back, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It is me, Emma G, and my wonderful co-host, my sister from another Mr. Rawinia, Judson. We are here with episode 3 of Real Talk, Mental Health Sounds Like This, in the lead up to my new book, Mental Health Sounds Like This. But this is an opportunity for us to have dope conversations with dope human beings, high-functioning humans from around the world, because that is what me and Ra are very passionate about. If you're new to who I am a singer-songwriter, empowerment through songwriting and vocal coach. And Ra, over to you, my love.
Kia ora, everyone. I am an authenticity and leadership coach, as well as an author and a CrossFit coach. I'm really stoked to be here today. I'm excited for this combo.
Yeah, for real. Because today's
Kiwis.
Today's guest is one of my dear longtime friends from high school. He has gone from strength to strength, having a career as a former pro wrestler, and now he is a filmmaker. He's a director, award-winning filmmaker and director, and actor with a plethora of epic film that has a habit of punching you in the feelings, shall we say. Mr. Fredrick Pokai. Kia ora,
bro. Thank you for that amazing introduction. It actually sounds a lot more epic than what I think it is. But
that's always the case. It's always the case.
Especially the pro wrestling. But I'm like, oh, geez, people are probably going to go look it up now.
You're welcome.
Oh, no. Oh, boy. No, but thank you so much for having me on, Emma. I don't think we've spoken for nearly 20 years, by the way, since high school.
I've been stalking you on social media, though, and I'm so inspired by your work. And as much as this is what I think is the cool thing about having that soul spiritual connection. Is like you can lead very different lives, but at the same time, it's almost like you're on a very similar trajectory. And when your why is so aligned, and I feel like our why has been very close since day one of us meeting back in, what was it, 9th grade?
I think we call it fifth form, year 11. I think. When did you start at Fairfield? It wasn't the beginning, was it?
I was supposed to be in year 9 or third form, but I got put up a grade because I'm a geek.
Hey, are you two both from Hamilton?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So we both went to Fairfield College together.
So am I. I didn't know this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went to Hamilton Girls High School.
So
wow.
Fairfield.
And this is how it all goes.
Kimbra. Hey, Emma, we're just missing Kimbra in the mix. And we've got the complete collection of Hamiltonians.
I mean, the fact that we're 3 Kiwis, like, first off, but the fact that we're all from Hamilton is like that blows my mind. I'm not gonna lie.
So I'm gonna go out on a leaf here and say go on a branch here and talk about, like, I think that's one of the beautiful things about coming from a small town is that when you are in a space where you recognize you kind of outgrow your goldfish bowl. I think it's really easy for people who come from a small background or small hometown backgrounds to then like really want to push the envelope, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what you've done.
I think I agree with that. I think that's been one of the most beautiful parts about our journey, Emma, is that, ever since high school, I always known you as a musician since, seeing you, busk at the old Frankton markets on Saturday morning.
A secret's out.
Oh, hey, I didn't have to, I've got some pretty great memories, just how we all grew up at high school. But yeah, especially with you, just knowing that out of everyone that done all the creative stuff at high school, I'm pretty sure that out of our year, it was only me and you that kind of really stuck at it. A lot of people kind of grew up and faced the reality of, I'm going to go to university and study engineering and, practical careers,
Are you saying we're not practical?
I think we chose a niche career. Practical, definitely a lot of practicality and creativity, but well, as you know, Emma, it's pretty hard. It's not like any other job. You know, you don't just apply for it and get an interview and then you get the job. You know, it's a test. You know, it's a trial. You know, what would I say? It's more like, what the path we chose was at the time we were young. Yeah, well, at the time we were young, we just wanted to do it. We didn't care about the financial side of it, whatever. That was what we loved doing. You know, you loved music. I loved performing and acting, even though, dare I say it, I hated drama at school. But I still wanted to be an actor. I still wanted to direct, and I still wanted to write, which was, you know, I didn't really take on the writing and directing side until I left high school. But when I was at high school, it was mostly drama. But my catch-22 was I didn't actually like doing drama, but it was the only place I could act. And so
it's funny that you say that, because I feel as if, I don't remember you ever being in drama class. I don't remember you. I mean, I wasn't really in drama class at all. That wasn't really my jam either. I thought that there's like this weird, I think, sort of mindset when it comes to being a creative in a formal education system, as opposed to being a creative. You're looking at me like I punched you in the feelings a little bit, as opposed to being a creative in life and in actual act of doing something. You know, it was one of the reasons why I didn't go to college to study music. I went to study teaching, right?
Yes.
So can you speak to that a little bit?
About how
your own decision to not do formal education when it comes to acting, but to just like, you know, go to the School of Hard Knocks and do it.
Yeah, to just do it.
Yeah, no,
I can definitely resonate with that, because would have been about 2012, 2013. I was looking at going to Toi Whakaari Drama School in New Zealand, the school that's pretty much responsible for the careers of Carl Urban, Anthony Starr, Cliff Curtis. So that was the school I was going to go join in Wellington. And I can't even remember what it was. And I just thought to myself, like, I think I do need acting classes. But at the time, it's like, do I really need acting classes? I'm doing it. And that's all that matters. But then when I look back at it, I'm like, maybe if I went, maybe I could have been in a little bit of a better place as well. You know, it's hard to say. You know, you could have gone to uni and done music, and maybe your career could have taken a completely different trajectory. You know, it's hard to tell whether it was beneficial, the paths we did take, but for where we are now, I think we made pretty good decisions. You know, and the hardest industries to crack, dare I say.
Yeah, you don't really know like where your path's going to take you until you like end up where you are, right? Like it's fascinating you said that, because prior to this, like I watched Dive, which is your most recent short film that you put out, and I said to Emma before you jumped on, like I was in tears. I was like crying watching it, because I really felt it like in every part of like my body and my wairua, from like I suppose like person who's like watching it, like, you know, so that was like my experience watching that film. And so, you know, I really find it fascinating that, you know, we might have these different perceptions of ourselves based on the path that we've taken, because perhaps it is a bit unconventional, or it's not the way that everyone else has like done things. So I'm curious, like what made you decide to take the path that you've kind of taken? Like what's been like your guiding force, or what's led you to make the decisions that you've made?
Yeah. Led me to make the decisions I made. It was really the only thing that excited me. Like I've tried, and I'm still doing it today, the 9-to-5 buzz. Like I'm still doing it now. I do carpentry, just as a 9-to-5, bread and butter. And which I'm actually really proud of the fact that I have those skills. Like I love the fact that, you know, and dare I say it, people love it when I add that I'm a carpenter in there, you know. They're like, oh, are you? Well, you know, I've got a few cracks in the wall or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. All right.
Typical New Zealanders, eh? Right?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a cashy job for you, mate. Just got a couple of bloody patches for you to clear up, you know. So yeah.
It's so true though. They're like, bro, can you come over and can you fix that hole in the wall? I'll give you a box.
So, you know, I'm still...
for anybody watching who doesn't know what a box is, we're talking about a box of beer, just to clarify.
Thank you for clarifying. I thought I needed to add that in afterwards.
You just say a box, guys. 12 beers.
That can mean a whole bunch of things in a whole different plethora of countries.
Yeah. None of the 6-pack crap. We don't do that in New Zealand.
Also, depending on what circles you're in, a 6-pack can also mean something else completely as well.
Well,
anyway,
yeah,
I digress.
Can't win.
No, so it's interesting. So you do carpentry, to pay the bills, but like you've also led, you know, I think it's really easy for people to think of creativity as something that is simply a form of expression and doesn't necessarily take us anywhere. And hence why there's this idea that you need to have a fallback plan, right? A plan B. But you've, you know, up and down throughout your career, you've done some really incredible things. You know, just looking at your IMDb page, people, you know, your awards, the amount of the body of your work speaks volumes about who you are and what you do. What is the drive behind what you choose to create?
Yeah. Oh, geez. I mean, it's a good question. You know, I mean, for example, I'll tell you, like, you put up a poster bringing Mary home. That done really well a couple of years back, you know, won a few awards. And I remember the director, Keelan Walker, he came to me and he said, hey, bro, I've got this idea for a story. It's based on an old, like, American song called Bringing Mary Home. So pretty much if you know the plot for the song Bringing Mary Home,
which I do not.
You know the plot for Bringing Mary Home.
Okay.
So, you know, that was the inspiration for that, but he wanted to put a Māori twist on that story. And so Bringing Mary Home, unfortunately, that was one film that is yet to be released. I don't know what the director's doing with the film, but Keelan, hurry up, bro. Yeah, so I'm not too sure what's happening with that film, but like say Dive, for example. Dive was based on a few things. So, you know, I've witnessed some pretty tough characters growing up in my life. And, you know, I had the young director, Tyler, approached me and he said, look, I want to do this film about maybe a father and a son, you know, and that kind of, you know, head clashing father-son story about, you know, swimming and the dad wanting the son to be a swimming champion. And I thought, you know, I had a little selfish thought in my mind, but I said, what if I put myself in this position where if it was me and my daughter? So even Dive for me is a hard one to watch because I have an 8-year-old kid. And, you know, I couldn't imagine being the way I am to my kid, that character that I played in Dive. You know, that's just unfathomable. But sometimes nowadays where I have like have to give her a growling or something. You know,
a growling is a telling off for anybody who doesn't know what that means. That's a very New Zealand-ism.
I'm
right.
telling her off. I'm giving her a growling. And, you know, sometimes I, oh, there he is. And, you know, but sometimes I think, you know, I'm like, oh, geez, am I actually like, you know, I felt like sometimes I might be or could possibly mirror that character in real life, you know.
Right.
You
But
played that character so well, I'm not gonna lie. Like when you were talking about like you seeing yourself sometimes in parts, or like that experience being something that you might not have said that, use these words specifically, but I think if you did grow up in New Zealand, a lot of people could either see themselves like as that daughter or in multiple different relationships. And so kind of being able to, like for myself, like watching a film like this really did bring up like some, don't say tricky, like emotions to navigate. And I think reading like a bit about your work, that is something that a lot of your films kind of have in common, is like that kind of, they're quite emotional. They kind of like tend to like these different parts that perhaps people might not acknowledge. So like how has that kind of come about? Because obviously like what you shared before, it's like, people have approached you for these things. So like how has this kind of happened? I'm like, how have you ended up with all these films that are like this?
I'll tell you what, even I don't know. I know Search for Hawaiki mostly because I wrote it in 2012 and I directed it. So my relationship with that film is different from the other films that I've been a part of that have done really well, especially the ones where I'm involved as a writer, and to actually get to a point where people thought, I think Fredrick Pokai, let's get Fredrick Pokai of all the humans on this planet to write our story. And I think we're what I kind of got right with stories like Dive, and even with Search for Hawaiki, which I don't know if maybe you saw a few snippets, but it's So I'm just seeing the trailer pop up, and I got a little distracted. But there it is there. But yeah, no, at least with Hawaiki, I remember the process from start to finish. But yeah, just with the other films that I wrote, I kind of can't fathom how I got into those positions. It just kind of happened, and the right person at the right place at the right time just seemed to have faith that I was the guy that had the minerals for the job. And yeah, even now, like I'll tell you one thing. Sometimes I get it as a creative, you get a little bit down. You get caught up in your own head, especially when the momentum's a little bit on the slower side, and yeah, it is really hard to kind of keep the passion alive. And so sometimes I have to kind of really look around at myself, whether I'm looking at myself not through social media, but just kind of reflecting on what it is that I've actually done and why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I'm not the kind to carry on if it's not getting me anywhere. But I'm like, this thing isn't actually getting me anywhere at the moment, but I'm still grinding at it, and I don't know why. It just maybe I'm old enough now. It's like, well, I've done it this long, I might as well just stick at it. Right.
No, that raises a really beautiful point, an important point, I think, because so you brought up Kimbra before, right? And I mean, I know that she's, I think, well, at least she was living in New York and doing music and doing all kinds of things. But I realized, and because we went to middle school together, her why has been very different to my why, which I think is one of the reasons why our careers have diverged so dramatically. And I think it's as I've evolved as, yes, musician, but my whole thing is music with a message. My whole thing is using music to empower people. And then I just realized, oh shoot, this is not about my ego. This is about recognizing that everybody has a song, that everybody has a truth that they need to express, which is how I got into empowerment coaching, right? But I think realizing, and recognizing and understanding and stepping into the power of your why is so important for creatives specifically. I mean, for everybody really, but you know, for creatives, when the success barometer isn't necessarily financial, right?
No.
It can be, and I'm really blessed that I lead the life that I lead here in the nation's capital. But success, you know, for me for a long time was just, does it make people smile? Does it
Yeah.
bring joy to my heart? Is it enjoyable? Is it something, you know, is it resonating with my audience? And I think that's the really powerful thing about your work, is that, you know, you may not be there in person, like Ra is in Canada right now, but you had her in tears a couple of hours ago.
Mm.
And that was you. You did that in a beautiful and profound and, like, you know, so how do you, like, what does success look like to you? What is your why? And how do you balance that as a creative?
Yeah, the metric of success. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. What is the metric of success in our industry? Are we allowed to call ourselves successful? Oh, are we not allowed to call ourselves successful until we've done a Hollywood film?
Right.
Because if that's the case, technically I have done a Hollywood film. So yeah, I'm successful. If that's the metric of success, I'm one of the most successful actors in Aotearoa right now, because I have technically been on a US film, a Hollywood film.
What was the film?
Yeah, and we were talking about it. I said, yeah, so what is it? Is it like, do you have to win an Oscar? Like, do you have to make money off it? Is it winning an award? Is it going into a festival? And for me, like say last year, like the metric of success for me, actually, I'll even go back further. The metric of success for me is getting the bloody thing done. Getting the film done is the metric of success for me. But it was actually something, it was quite funny to kind of quantify it and go, what actually is it? Like, what is the universal metric of success in film? Because we couldn't quite think of it. Is it being number one? Is it making box office bangers? Is it being the number one actor? And like, what is success? So I just decided, throw all that crap away. Let's get to the guts of it. What is the most important thing when you make a film? Finishing it. That's success. That is success, because
I love that.
Look, people say, "Oh, production must be a nightmare." I said, "Look, it's like the nightmare kind of creeps up in film. So you got pre-production at the bottom here, and then you got bloody what do you call it? Pre-production, production, and then post-production. You know, so the level of stress goes up, and you know, anything can happen in that editing suite. You know, your data could be corrupted, you know, because it's all digital now. So you can be corrupted. You might, you know, your shot might be out of focus. There's all sorts of crap. So, yeah, for me, it's, getting people to set, getting them to work, and then, getting the film made. That's it for me. But, you know, I had those thoughts of, you know, when I was younger, I was like, oh, you know, I'd love to be a Hollywood actor or all that kind of stuff. And I think as a young person you do, because it's kind of the universal, everyone knows about it, you know, being Hollywood blockbuster actor or director or whatever. Like it was never my intention to write dramas. Like, I was like, I don't want to write, when I first started getting into writing, I was like, I don't want to write dramas. Like, what for? But
I mean, you're such a humorous person. I would have thought that would have been more your genre. But
my next film is a romantic comedy. So
is it?
Yeah, so that should be finished today. I've been waiting about a month for it. So it's luckily we don't actually have a deadline. We kind of trying to make deadlines for festivals just so we can get like early bird specials and stuff, because technically that's the stage I'm at. Like we're planning on doing our first feature film, which the drive is to make a dive feature film. which was never my intention. I thought, okay, we could probably do this for about 15, 20 minutes, but about an hour and a half, 2 hours, are these characters
I can see that, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
There's depth to the story that's not spoken to. So that's me coming from someone who writes books.
But you are a writer, of course.
Yeah, but so when you were saying a finished product is like success, I'm like sitting here thinking, yep, I've got like 20 unfinished books in my laptop.
I have about 50 unfinished songs, so I hear that.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, I've got a plethora of unfinished scripts. 2 pages.
Yeah.
Just a synopsis. So that's the world of creativity. I think also as we get older, it does get a little bit harder to kind of finish things. I mean, you notice that if you're an illustrator or you like drawing, when you're a kid, filling a page is easy. You're like, I can draw a big house and the big clouds and the big sun and the everyone's on the lawn, mum, dad, and the kids, all that stuff. And as you get older, I mean, this is what happened to me. I love drawing. I could fill a page, no problem. And as I got older, it actually started getting harder to fill a page. And I was doing some crazy stuff, like doing this amazingly detailed face, and then that's it. Or like finishing drawing 3/4 of a body and then not finishing off the last leg because I can't draw the certain angle that I wanted it on.
I feel like it's a metaphor for life. Sorry, Ra.
I was just going to say, you go and then I'll go, because there's something I really want to say to that is like being an adult.
Right. I feel like it's about like the metaphor for life. We become so detail oriented and we get so sort of transfixed on what the outcome should be that we forget to actually do the things that bring us joy and do the things that like just finish the damn thing, like just try making a podcast, try writing a book, try writing a song, and then finish it to the best of your ability without getting tripped up on perfectionism or on, is this going to appease a certain audience, or is this going to make mum and dad happy, or is this going to piss people off? Like,
does anyone give a shit?
Right. Sorry.
Well, there's so much in that, because this is actually a theme that's been coming up with a lot of my clients. So I often work with women in leadership who are in those stages of like either creating a podcast or like in the early stages of business. And it's fascinating when you're talking about being an adult. So like obviously when you're a child, right, like your rate of failure is so much higher because you don't care, right? Like you just keep going, you keep trying. Whereas when you're older, you already have this kind of inbuilt kind of filtering system whereby it's like, oh, well, what do people think about me? What if actually no one does care, or, what if I get it wrong? Like that perfectionism that you were talking about. And so typically a lot of the people that I work with, like they're less likely to want to start because they're already thinking of what the outcome could be from like a negative perspective, right? Versus the outcome being, well, actually I did this thing. I created this really awesome book or film or podcast or whatever it is, versus like, can that be enough? And then if other people like it, like amazing. But often we're so caught up in that, or what if people don't like it, versus allowing ourselves to be in the process of creating it.
I'm laughing because I've always boiled that down to this one question of like, or this one sort of self-prompt of we need to stop shoulding on ourselves. Right? Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's cool that we are our own worst critics. And, even for me, I'm constantly watching, like not constantly, sorry, but when I'm watching stuff that I'm in, or when I'm reading back on what I've written or what I'm doing, I'm always kind of like, I could have done that better. Oh, geez. Or watching myself like, we were going through Dive, and I'm messaging the director and I'm like, I'm sure there was a better take than that one. That can't be the take. He's like, it was the best take. I'm like, that's impossible. He's like, no, Fred, you're just in denial. That's the best take. I'm like, whoa.
Well,
so
okay.
fascinating. Do you experience this, Emma? Because
Yeah,
Emma and I were just having this conversation again before you jumped on about like me, like I value excellence, and so like what you were saying, like I can sometimes be like a little bit hard on myself or like have these really high expectations and like want it to be incredible and amazing. And I'm like, is this a Kiwi thing? Is it a creative thing? Like, I'm curious.
No, I think it's definitely a worldwide phenomena. But I think the benefit of being Kiwi is that we have a little more foundational rooting almost in terms of like being okay with sucking. Like my husband, he wrote a book about self-defense, why even bother, and he has an entire chapter about embracing the suck. Right, because globally it's something that we struggle with as an artist, as an empowerment coach. There are definitely times that I have been like, oh, I could have written that better, or I could have said that better, or I could have approached that better, or made a better book cover, or what album cover, whatever it is. I'm sure you've had the similar things, Ra and Fred. I mean, yeah, no, there's so
you just said that the take, right? Like, surely there's a better take.
Yeah, I'm like, that can't be it. No, it's like, no, that's it. Like,
how do you navigate? Like, I'm curious to hear this from your perspective, Fredrick. Like, how do you navigate putting out something and perhaps like it not being exactly like what you want it to be, right? Like, just like getting it done and putting it out. Like, what do you say to yourself, or how do you get to a place of acceptance within that?
Everything I have done has not turned out how I envisioned it. So nowadays, when I'm doing a project, I'm pretty acceptant of that. It's not exactly how I visualized it or something. So my main focus is like, I guess, just having that chance to make it, going back to the whole making a film and getting it done. It's the same thing. It's just having that opportunity to get to create it. That kind of. Sorry, I'm just trying to review a question again. What was your question again, bro?
But it's okay. It was like, how do you like navigate putting out something that perhaps isn't what you want it to be? Like, what's your kind of internal process around that? Yeah.
Hard to say, because like I said, I was such a person of acceptance, and it happens all the time, far more regularly than I realize, because I do go on with a plan, or if I'm directing or if I'm acting, I do have a idea of how I want to be in my head, and when it doesn't translate to how I want it at the time, I get a little bit like, oh, why don't you, I'm thinking to myself, Mr. Director or Mrs. Director, why don't you see that? Why don't you see it when I did that? It's like, oh, geez, and then I realize like I am at the end of the day watching myself with a prejudice on myself, where everyone else is going, talking about it's 5 3. It's like, no, look, you can see out my nostrils and everything. It's like, yeah, that's great. It's dramatic. That's what we want. I'm like, oh, So yeah, it's I think yeah. I'm just so used to it. I'm so used to it. I don't know if that was the amazing clippable answer that you could take from this, Rawinia, but that's kind of the truth of it.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap up. I feel like, again, we could talk for hours upon hours, even though it is 5:40 in the morning for you over in Aotearoa.
I hope we covered what you wanted to talk about.
It was fantastic, and more importantly, I think one of the things for at least from my perspective, this entire podcast is about recognizing that we each navigate, imposter syndromes, self-sabotage, mental health struggle, whatever it is, in different ways, no matter whether we're filmmakers, whether we're authors and coaches, whether we're musicians, it doesn't matter. It's recognizing how each and every single one of us, navigate. It first of all is presented with those things, with those challenges, and then of course has now got a toolkit of weapons to defeat said imposter syndrome or said stress or said whatever.
Yeah, it was real, and that's what I liked about it. Like, I really loved your honesty around the things that you personally navigate and that you think and that you experience, but yet you are an award-winning, writer, actor, and director, and I think that can be really helpful for people to hear, because sometimes you don't hear these stories and people think, well, how did this person get here, right?
I'm the last person that people would think do this kind of thing. I get told regularly, oh, I would have picked you for that. I'm like, well, what does an actor look like?
Exactly. Here's to battling back against those stereotypes. Fred, such a pleasure, such a joy. I miss you beyond words. For anybody who does want to keep in touch with Fredrick and see more about what he's doing, obviously you can Google him, Fredrick Pokai. His IMDb page will show up, and you can then get lost in the beautiful work of this human.
Otherwise, watch my workout vids, bro. I think I get 5 or 10 views per video. No one cares, but I don't know.
No, I see you lifting your weights, bro.
I care.
It inspires me. I'm like, go ahead, 200 kilo.
No one cares about them, but I post them all the time because I just want people to know, hey, I'm still going, and if I can get my ass to the gym, I thoroughly believe, if I can do it, anyone's capable of doing it. So that's why I put it up, even if no one cares.
I'm one of those likes, just so you know. I'm one of those people that stays there.
I think it's important when you're Māori, when you're a father, when you're juggling multiple things.
Especially creative as well. Creatives are not into looking after themselves.
Excuse you.
No. I mean, sorry, I should say a lot of creatives are, working out, exercising, all that kind of stuff. It's not really something that goes hand in hand with the creative mind. And from my experience and being a Māori. So I'm trying to change that narrative over here a little.
I love that.
It's cool.
So keep in touch with Fredrick. I will put all of his details in the description of this video. Obviously, if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, or Amazon podcasts, you're going to have to, head to the Googles to find out more about Fredrick Pokai. But again, thank you guys so much for being here. Fred, always an honor. Ra, you are a beast. I love and appreciate both of you. You're the best beast.
Beast mode.
This is Mental Health Sounds Like This, Real Talk with Emma G and Ra. Have a great day on purpose, friends. We'll see you next week.
Take care.